folks, it says we are live. So, yes, and now everyone hears the voice talking to you, which means AI is now in our heads. So, welcome everybody. It is Wednesday and it is Hump Day, and I just want to speak favor over everybody. Bosto, I got my Sky Pilot here for the World Hug because we're going to be talking about crisis mentality with my special guest, Jay Matta of Spiritually Raw. So, Jay, welcome to the chat session.
Wayne, thanks for having me in the chat session. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing excellent. I often tell
It's good to see
people
you as always.
I have perfected imperfection.
Yeah, you're perfectly imperfect.
Yeah, you know.
That's good.
And then you kind of go in that direction, then there's never no right, there's never no wrong. But anyway, welcome everybody. Thank you to moderators that's all out there. So good to see everybody. The room is filling up and we got a good topic today. So Jay, we were trying to get you on last week. I had business I had to tend to. So and it was fortuitous because in that period of time, we were going to discuss something different, but this has arisen, and I couldn't think of a better individual to have in the forum to discuss what is happening to us. And specifically, I'll give you the background to this. So this morning here in Colorado, one of the state health officials, she's making a really big deal that Coloradans are in crisis, exact words. And she says, I am declaring a state of emergency for pediatric mental health. Okay. Well, when you use certain keywords like state of emergency, pediatrics, which means children, mental health, well, one never really thinks, is that a crisis? But what was interesting, very, very, very dear friend of mine, she sends me an email from the paper in her state. And oddly enough, this article is dealing with, quote unquote, the state of emergency of pediatric mental health. And it got me to thinking, Jay, here is yet another state of emergency, another crisis. And I thought, well, we have become a society that is crisis focused.
Yeah, we have. We've allowed that to Wayne happen, which is the one thing, is that we allowed it. We allowed, regardless of belief systems. I mean, I think their energy is a real thing. You know what I mean? So we allow that energy by saying, okay, hey, you're going to do a pediatric crisis, but guess what? You caused whatever crisis to happen to begin with. So it's never, you know what I mean? It's by keeping these kids out of school. You know what I mean? Their mental health is definitely going to be. I mean, humans, your law of nature, our psyche is going to be affected by that, by not being able to associate, especially at that age, Wayne, with a developing brain still, and they're not able to do that, and their whole existence is riding their. I see them here, and it's the saddest thing, Wayne. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old kids, whatever. They're riding their bikes with their masks on, and the thing that comes to me in my mind is, my gosh, the retraining they're going to have to do to reprogram their brain that it's okay,
Yeah, it even gets deeper than that, Jay. It's interesting because Lynn, my wife, she's a nurse of many, many years. I won't say how many, but we were discussing this, and so we all go on the time machine. I'm back in 1965. In the 5th grade. I'm 10 years old. And I can tell you that I never heard of any child contemplating suicide, much less going through with it.
Yeah, there just wasn't. I mean, even my generation, I graduated in '89. I just turned 50 on Saturday. I was telling you off air.
Happy anniversary. I'll put it that way.
Happy anniversary, my 18th birthday, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you just, you think about it, Wayne, it's the stuff it's this, whatever it is. And I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist here, but it is what it is. I mean, you can see it. There's the stuff that's coming on the food, the stuff that's coming through the airwaves. all this stuff is, I mean, it's programming, it's predictive programming that's happening in, in people's minds. And myself and April, we haven't watched the news, Wayne, since January 6th.
Well, good, good.
I have not turned on the TV. I don't want to process it.
You've missed many crises, and and you've survived,
Yeah.
But getting back to the kids, it's really something what we have done here is that because we have now isolated children into a new mentality that I would have never thought of. Seriously. I mean, it was, for me, growing up summer was, I'm get to play, don't have to get up, don't have homework. But apparently now it's different. Children, and I don't know if it's because of the technology. I don't know. I recently read in Psychology Today, the journal, that, and this has been well known, that the boomers' brains are wildly different than the Xers and now the millennial, the Generation Zers.
Yeah, I would say so. And I do believe it is the technology, because we didn't grow up with, computers and laptops. We didn't. And so it was all outside stuff and everything like that. But now it's just laser focused on whatever program it is. You see 3-year-old and 4-year-old kids, they're pretty sharp. I mean, they're doing their own.
Well,
videos.
That's because their parents now substitute the babysitter with the electronic device.
That's exactly what's happening. So that technology, I mean, you got to think, and I don't know the science behind this, Wayne, but there's got to be something to that much electrical energy coming at your brain all at once, all day long, just like wow. I mean, it's got to be rewiring you to some degree. It has to.
Well, I did a video on what we're worshiping today, and the blue light, this is not conspiratorial, this is scientific fact. The blue light that we're subjected to on these devices is the type, it's the type that you would get the same effect of lithium.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow. It's pleasurable, but not in the sense of what we're thinking about. And it's addictive, highly addictive.
Yeah. There's going to be more and more of that. I think I personally see that as like just an ongoing trend that's going to continually happen, Wayne. I mean, people are going to get sucked more and more into technology. It's going to be up to the individual parents or the guardians of those kids to make a decision.
I don't think it'll happen, but I don't think they were raised up with it.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen either, man. I really don't. I think it's just going to be, listen, it's survival of the fittest right now. And I think, unfortunately, kids have to be part of this game right now. Before they were shielded and protected. Now they have to be part of the game. Survival of the fittest. Everybody's got to be mind, body, spirit, whatever you believe in. You have to get connected and see where things are at for you. Otherwise, you fall in the trap.
It's interesting because, when you get into the topic of adolescent suicide, in 1989, I worked with Billy Joel. We brought Billy Joel in. I was the producer. We did a national PSA spot, public service announcement, and Billy Joel agreed to come in, and the name of the organization was KUDO, Kids Under 21, because back in 89, it was an issue that we began to see in the mental health crisis with, in that time, the suicide rate that was most prominent was between 16 and 19. And obviously, we didn't come up with a solution, because today we see it now regressing back to when you have, I was shocked to read this one story of an 8-year-old. So an 8-year-old child is trying to put, and how they discovered her was that she was trying to put a metal object into an electrical outlet at school. And I don't understand how an 8-year-old can be contemplating death. It's sad, because and this is just my take, there's obviously a spiritual component missing here.
Yeah. There is no connection to anything. There's only the 8-year-old, use an example. I mean, you see this, unfortunately, you see this stuff on TV, and it's almost kind of glorified. even though it's the end game, which is the suicide aspect of it, it's still almost kind of glorified. I mean, I can turn on any one of these channels and see stories about kids that are committing, or movies, or say what happened to this person, and they're teenagers that were popular and all that stuff. So you get to see that stuff. So these kids are watching that stuff and thinking that, I guess maybe this is common, And so there's just not a lot of accountability. And who do you hold accountability from that? Do you hold accountability to the broadcaster of that message? You know what I mean? Or who's responsible for it at that time? What can you do?
Well, it's the programming, so it's the adults who are doing the programming. So that, number one, and I come from that industry, and so and it has been a problem. But I contend as well, I don't see and I keep up with that age, so I know the industry, and I can tell you, I do not see a spiritual component to any of the media programming that's out there. I see, growing up for myself in 1960, 1961, I remember there was a program, because we would watch cartoons. That was what we did. And there was a program called Davy and Goliath. It was a puppet, and it was really a very good animated series, because it taught to children the importance of having a spiritual aspect to yourself. There was accountability to yourself and accountability to your community. I mean, and this was what Davy and Goliath brought. Did you ever see the series?
No, I never heard of that, but that sounds like something I would want to watch.
Check it out. Check it out.
Davy and Goliath. Yeah.
Davy and Goliath. And, and isn't it odd? Here I sit, nearly 60 years later, and still recall the lessons back at that's a great thing about time traveling. We all can go back to our childhood. I was 5 years old, but those lessons were being taught.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they sure were. And the spiritual aspect you're referring to, it's not there anymore. There's no sense of connecting, you know what I mean, to oneself.
Yeah.
And we're taking religion, faith out of the whole equation. There's still that connection to your oneself. You have an inner voice or something, so there's no teaching on how to do that. And that's so crucial right now. That's more, so that's actually been, and we talk about on stuff, but that I personally believe there's a blockage to that being happening purposely right now.
You can't talk about spirituality in the schools today.
Oh no, they're blocking that out there. You're taking those next leaders of those next future generation, and you're grooming them like Manchurian candidates. That's what's happening. That's what you're doing, or that's what they're doing. They're just growing a bunch of Manchurian candidates that just left, right.
And it's disturbing, because what I see already is there is this gap that's ever increasing. I had the opportunity recently to address some young people. It's interesting, call them young people. I don't see myself as old, but anyway, they were in their teenage years. And what really got me was the total void of any topic dealing with inner perspectiveness. Their view of spirituality is more ET related.
Yeah.
And I found that very odd. I said, well, what do you mean? Well, as the girl said, she says, well, you're talking about this thing that you say, the spirit, but she said, really, she says, it's alien life. But the point is that they were devoid of this. And I asked the question, I said, through this whole lockdown that we went through, I said, what would you find the one thing that you could not have done without? And immediately it was their cell phone.
There was their cell phone. Yeah.
It was their cell phone.
Yeah.
I said, what about companionship? The one guy said, I don't need companionship. I have my phone.
It's so true, though, isn't it? I mean, in today's society, that's the thing.
Whoa.
We call this is the look here, I got it by me too. It's like everybody does, but it's an electronic leash.
It is.
It really is an electronic leash.
It's like this. And then, taking this to the next step is that, well, we have become so programmed by these devices, and the way that the device gets us is that it's constantly either it's a new app that you have to have, and these apps are, if you study the science behind them, they're using a hypnotic element to it. You're literally hypnotizing yourself,
Yeah.
and you're not even aware of the subliminal message that's coming through. But the fact is that these devices keep us alerted,
Yeah.
and it's one crisis after the other. And I say that what we've become as a society is that we have become addicted to the adrenaline rush when we read the next clickbait, the next disaster is this. It was very interesting. There were a number of channels I saw that were crisis making these the CMEs that happened on the sun, and stating how bad this was going to be. And they came here and it was a whimper.
Yeah, yeah. Probably was it a week or two ago, something with the gas lines happened.
Yeah, yeah.
And again, Wayne, I just have not been watching the news, right? So I must have gotten about 20 different texts saying, "Hey, is there gas in Florida? Is there gas in Florida?" from people I know, and they're like, "Is there gas in Florida?" I'm like, "Gas?" Like who texts this? You know what I mean? And more importantly, why am I getting so many of them? You know what I mean? And then finally, someone called me. They're like, "Oh, there's this. People are coming from Georgia, North Carolina to get gas." And you know what? My instinct, and I got to tell you, I feel really good about this. My instinct did not allow me to turn on the TV to get sucked into it. I was like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
Did you have gas? You never got it?
There's gas everywhere. You know what I mean?
Okay.
There's no problem. There's no lines. There's nothing. It was just, I pull up there. It's like everything life is normal. There's no waiting in line. There's no signs.
Crisis averted, right?
Crisis averted. You just don't give that's the thing. You don't give the crisis energy,
All right. So you brought it up, and it has to be brought out more. So last night I'm writing a section on ESP as a natural defense mechanism that we were equipped with when we came into this realm. We were just they stole it from us. If you don't believe you have it, then you're not going to look for it.
Right.
And it got down to that one word, intuition. I mean, intuition could be defined as extrasensory perception.
I agree. Yeah.
I mean, in fact, I would probably say intuition would be the first sign of a person knowing that they had ESP.
Yeah, for sure.
So your intuition said, "Don't turn the TV on."
My intuition said, "Don't turn the TV on." Let me tell you how committed I am not to get into crisis mode or fall down that rabbit hole, Wayne. And this is discipline, but it is, in my opinion, we talk about this on the show a lot. It is survival of the fittest. You've got to do this or you're going to fall down a really bad place that you're not going to know how to get up. I sit there, man. Morning, I meditate. Before I go to, and I'm not one to meditate. I just generally don't have the patience to do it. But I know over the last 6 months, just to seeing everything coming on, my own personal view of this, Wayne, is that I got to get grounded. I have to remain grounded at all times. I can't, and that's going to be so critical right now. I have to learn not to react. And for me, I wake up in the morning, I meditate. I wake up at 3:00 in the morning. I don't struggle to go back to bed. I meditate back to bed. I go to bed, I meditate. All I'm doing, I'm constantly taking every opportunity I have to connect with myself till it becomes such a habit and discipline. And that's how I continue. That's how I continue through, And again, it's good. I mean, I enjoy it. I enjoy the intuition I get out of it. The balance I feel like I receive out of it, the way I react to things is very differently. But just in general, I really, it's one of those things that it's like you want to take a look at, especially at these times, Wayne, you want to take a look at this as having a glass of water. You have to have it. You're going to have to figure out a way to keep yourself calm and balanced, or else your energy is going to just do nothing but fuel a fire that doesn't need to be fueled at this point.
I like golf, and I think the world got treated this past weekend to the example of a 51-year-old. Phil almost was, in fact, he'd be 51 next week, but 2 weeks. The fact that Phil Mickelson, age 50, won the PGA championship. And it was interesting because I watched him, It was a different Phil Mickelson. He has learned how to do what we call self-walking meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And a number of times I saw him, and in those of us who recognized it, and it works. It
Yeah.
worked. It worked for this man. He overcome a field half his age, and yet he triumphed over that. And when you talk about meditation, to me now, it's that inner journey. Is that for myself? It's a habit.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It completely is for me. And you know what? I want to clear up a misconception about it, which I always had. And look, my heritage is from India, so I'm supposed to be ingrained with this stuff. And even myself, I have the misconceptions of sitting in the lotus position and doing this with the nostril and this nostril and that nostril, whatever. And it's like I'm not doing that. Number one, I don't have the patience to do it. It's boring. I found out that I can, like you gave the example of Phil, the walking meditation, the lying down meditation. Again, what you're doing is you're simply connecting with yourself, and there doesn't have to be any barriers between you and yourself. There just doesn't have to be. And what you learn about life and how you learn about how to go through life is really an incredible in itself. It's an addiction. It really is, once you really get the opportunity to learn yourself. And if you get the opportunity to learn yourself, which I'm finding out, again, these crises just don't mean that much.
Yeah, they don't, because every crisis is a self-fulfilled prophecy.
It is. Yeah.
I mean, someone created it.
Yeah.
And and then we become reactionary to it, and then we get adaptive because we think that is how normalcy is that we're supposed to always be reactive to a situation. There's never no point of Zen. There's no calm.
Yeah, there
isn't. I learned because at one time I was one of those 6-figure frequent flyers, and it sucks. I mean, when you're literally, I didn't see Lynn at one time for nearly a month and a half because I was on the road.
Wow.
And the thing that helped me through that was I learned the techniques decades ago, and it works. I can literally be walking in a crowd, and I'm not in that crowd anymore.
Yeah.
I barely can hear them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful experience. It really is. You get to, I'm like that too. I noticed, like, I'm just not affected by these things. I'm not affected by the people around me. I can shut that down. You train your mind how to shut that down. I want to also, Wayne, if I may, a solution to a lot of this for people is to kind of like how you and I are doing. I mean, I personally believe that, when I do our show, to me, I've always said it. I think I said it on your show too when you interviewed us, but it's the best therapy in the world. You get to release a lot. So I think when people find that they do that, I think now might be a good time where people, want to get to whoever they're connected with. And when they start to come up with these crisis therapies, get to, I don't want to call it a support group, but get maybe 3-4 of you together on a Zoom call and just start someone be the voice of reason to help talk the other ones off the ledge. You know what I mean? And have that and take turn. It's almost like a crisis mastermind class. You know what I mean?
I like that idea.
Seriously. I mean, it's very important because I know that we're doing, you and I are doing it right now. We have the privilege right now to get to share, our this inner workings of our conversations together. But I think for those who don't, find out who you're closely connected with, on whether it's your social media best friends or whatever. Get on a Zoom call. Do it as often as you need to do it. And just, again, it doesn't have to be therapy, but it just needs to be like, here's this, what's the best way to handle it? And then you start to realize you can start to talk through these things in a reasonable fashion, not a reactionable fashion.
I like that idea. And it's interesting. I never really asked this. So your journey spiritually, so is it in the Hindu roots? Is it more westernized, in a more, because with Western, it's the Abrahamic belief system. How did you find in your journey? I mean, you're at that age now, in which is really a moment for many humans. 50 is, the year, it's a Jubilee year, by the way. Do you know what that means? A Jubilee year?
Celebration?
Well, it means all karmatic debts are paid.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and folks, to those of you who aren't 50 and you're
All right.
traveling to there, it's one of the great things that when you reach there, there is this cosmic aspect of it. And I happen to believe in the year of Jubilee. That is when you neutralize that and you start out with the next 50 with a clean slate. But anyway, so
Can I just hug you or hold you for a minute, Wayne? That was awesome. But,
sure, no
but,
problem.
but
There's no
my
mask up here anymore. So
right. There's my own personal journey. So my parents both from India, right? But they never really, we went to different events and things, but it was never like, oh, we got to do this because it's this. It was never really, driven down home with us. So there wasn't a real religious place. There was just a belief, hey, we believe in God and this is who we believe in kind of thing. And I was like, whatever. So we go through life. Me personally, I just went on my own journey. I started going on my own journey probably, I would say, when I was in my, maybe late 20s, and just kind of really got inquisitive. I started to get, I don't know, maybe it was my intuition that was tapping in at that time. Now that I look at it in hindsight, but things were becoming like, hey, how would I know that? Or how do I know that I shouldn't have done that? Or how do I know that I did, what to do? And I started to kind of think about that. And then I started to get just a lot of dreams, Wayne, of just different things that would start to come true. You know what I mean? Like,
now, were you seeking for a deity at that point, or were you trying to make connection to something unseen?
After that, I was after I started to get that experience, then I started to really go on the search for a deity. I really did. I even went to the point where I went to India twice, and I'd never been.
Oh,
And
really?
that's a
Well,
hard.
what was that journey like?
It's I will say this: if you doubt the essence of some sort of spirituality, then go to India. You know what I mean? Because everywhere you go, I mean, in a country of 1 billion people, everywhere you go, as many houses as there are, there's as many temples. So you're always constantly getting blessed or prayed over or whatever, again, whatever that may be for you.
It's the epitome of Hellenism.
It really is. And I tell you, it's you get people, but you're constantly, people are always talking about faith. It's all about faith. Their business is about faith. If you're the first person to walk into a business owner's market, there's a ritual. Like, you're like, hey, pay me with your right hand, not your left hand, because that means good luck to me as an entrepreneur. I mean, there's a lot of different things. So we just went on the journey, and then when I came back, I was so fascinated by what's out there. I really, again, was super on the search of a deity. And then so we started the show as a result of that. And because April and I were both in that same mindset.
Was April with you on that journey?
The second time. I went the first time by myself, and then a month later I was like, let's go. You're gonna love this place.
So that was a pretty rapid return. It must have really impacted you.
Guy, it really did. Because again, I knew there's, it's looking back hindsight, it's odd to say there's something out there, but it's almost like I knew there's another part. There's, I guess the best way for me to describe it now, another layer of myself, to be able to find, Wayne. And so we went there, and then I just knew coming back in, I was able to just learn things like, with predictability, know what my next moves were going to be, know what the conversations are going to be, literally learn the art of manifestation. And so for me, I was like, okay, what is that tapping into? And so I've been ever since then, we've got the show Spiritually Raw, which really explores those kind of things. And so it's a constant search.
Wow. So,
which is really beautiful. I love it. I mean, I love being, I'm glad I don't go to the answer right now. It'd be
you
boring.
had a clear slate, you had. So often in the West, if you're, particularly if you were raised in the Southeast, that's the Bible Belt, and so from very early you have, in fact, it's coming up, Vacation Bible School, that's so prominent. And so immediately you're being painted a picture of an unseen deity. The fact that you went over to your home where your ancestors come from, and that's important. And I find the land of India to be the original home of the gods. I mean, if you study the culture, it's one of two things. Through the Indus Valley, it was either through the continent of India or China, or a combination of both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's no shortage of gods or goddesses there, man. There's not.
No, there. I mean, and that's my next thing I was going to ask you. So, did you experience any type of energy? I mean, I have talked to people who have been to India, missionaries primarily, and every one of them have told me that the one thing that they were least prepared for was there are many spirits there.
Yeah, you see spirits like you do, like you and I don't see stuff. I don't, I can intuitively pick up on
Hmm.
stuff, from my own intuition. I mean, I don't do that as a living kind of thing, but my own intuition, I know pretty tight, right? But just how you and I are seeing each other right now, Wayne, you would see spirits like that. And I remember very vividly, me and April, when we were walking down one of the streets, and I mean, she, because it was definitely a feminine energy of sorts, was literally floating over the grass, stopped, stared right at us to the right, stared back forward, and just kept on floating. And just kept floating. And you see a lot of that. Then you go to places because there's a constant harnessing of this. It's a constant. I mean, everywhere you go, as much as there is, it's all it is. That's all they're doing is they're harnessing spirits. They do it for a living. They do it in their businesses. They do everything. So you see
I
a
love
tremendous
this.
amount of that. It's wild. I went to a pilgrimage where I walked up a mountain. It must have been about, I don't know, about a 12-hour up a winding mountain hike, right? And when you get to the top, there's the priest and everything blessing you and all that. And there's, it's just a whole kind of celebration. You made it to the top of the mountain kind of thing. But they had a flame, a purple flame, and not a violet like a regular fire. You know what I mean? Like it was fire because you could see stuff melting on it. But one of the priests grabbed my hand and went to put it in the flame, and obviously I jerked back, right? And he kind of looked at me like, "Don't worry about it." And he put my hands in there. But look, Wayne, it was like this: my hand in the flame, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, nothing,
I love it.
nothing at all. You know, like no
I had,
spark, no nothing. I mean, just a little sensation of warmth, but it was a real fire.
yeah,
It wasn't like electric. I mean, I know the difference.
the
So yeah,
ethereal
there's
fire.
a lot of experiences. Yeah.
I had a friend, his name was Jack Harris, and he told me that when they would go in with their crusades, um, he said the thing that he learned was the spirits over there. You can call them demons, you can call them jinn, you can call them angels, but as Jack found out, they only look at Christianity as just another spirit.
That's it. Yeah.
It has no greater power, no lesser power. And he said there were many times when they would be in these hut buildings, and he said these things would manifest. He said they were hanging literally from the rafters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. You go in there and it's actually kind of beautiful. You in the morning when you wake up, the sun comes up, and the first thing you're going to hear the Muslim prayers. But then 5 minutes later, you're going to hear the Hindi prayer. Then 5 minutes later, you're going to hear a Christian prayer. It's all
Love it.
back to back. It's like constant like that. You know what I mean? It just flows like that. So they're all about, they're all coming from for the most part, you could sense they're coming from a place of just well-being and love.
And that's one of the things I love about the Indian people is that they have this long history that has unfortunately been cut out of the world. It's not in the Western mentality, so it doesn't exist, And when you study the cultures there, the reason why I have this draw towards them is that because of their longevity.
Yeah.
And that speaks volumes to me. I mean, you've been around for 30, 40, 50, who knows, thousands of years, and a people, a culture that have gone through so many evolutionary changes with our species. And the one place you can find this is in India.
You can, and you know what's it? You see the architecture.
Yeah.
It's yeah, like how could you possibly thousands of years ago have created that when even in modern times they can't even figure out how to create that or what's a lot of this architecture comes from. It's amazing.
I want to know how they got the temple, that basalt temple, that was cut out of solid freaking rock that
Yeah.
we still don't know the precision of it. Was if that was humans, then the indictment is that we are way regressed.
We are. I think so. I think so, man, because I've been there and I've seen it, and I've seen how so when you take a look at construction sites right now, you have the process, people know when a house is being built or a commercial building. It is a family, Wayne, of of an assembly line. So the child will hand to the mom will hand to the dad will hand to another child, to a mom, to a dad. There's like 6 or 7 of them. Boom, the brick gets laid, paste, next. It's like that. It's constantly like that. And so the gifts that they get, because the gifts a lot of the people get, which they look for gifts, is the raw materials. What they're looking for, which is fascinating if you think about what they're wanting. When, you know, anybody they're getting, let's say they're getting blessed with in India, it's people will bless their loved ones with raw materials, bricks, cement, stuff that they can actually build a house with. That's what they bless them with.
Yeah.
You know, isn't that fascinating?
And the fact that is, as you were talking, I could see it in my mind's eye, is the cohesion of the family unit.
Yeah.
See, that's something I say that it's happened in America. We don't have families anymore.
Not at all. Not at all.
No.
There's no sense of it. In Florida, I can tell. There's like, even like April's from Philadelphia, so she talks about, you know, the childhood friends and the neighborhood kids. I'm like, I don't know, I don't really remember that much in Florida. Florida's pretty transient. You know what I mean? It's I
was on my own at the age of 15, so
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
the only ones I knew were the other kids on the street, which you know,
that's it. That's it. Yeah, that's it.
But as I hear that, in within India as well, because you know, it's interesting because from much of that, I can remember, 17, meeting a yogi, and one of the things that he said, you Americans are always, he says, like butterflies. You never light. You're always, and of course, at the age of 17, I didn't quite comprehend what he said at the moment, but looking back, he was absolutely right. I think that's the way most of us go through life, is we're constantly fluttering around and we never have time to actually be able to sit down and find that place of calm, because there wouldn't be a crisis if it comes to you and they say, well, Wayne, there's a tornado. Well, all right, I got 2 choices. I can dive into the fear and freak out, or I can simply remain calm and say, well, we're going to be just fine. And we end up being just fine.
You know what's interesting, Wayne, and growing up, which I found was really kind of the most fascinating thing, because I grew up with a lot of Indian people. So there was just, you know, wherever there was always at my parents' house, there was Indian people over, you know, just get-togethers and things like that. So I got to know a lot of them, right? But to see going over there, even the adults, but when going over there, it was like I was talking to a completely different heritage. So the ones over there were like, there was a totally different way of being, of how they approach life, than the ones that were over here. So here, you know, you think, even me, I was like I was stereotyping. I was like, oh no, not more of this. You know what I mean? But it wasn't. Then that's what I was like, because my mom was like, you got to go. I'm like, I don't want to go. I've already seen it here at home, you know? And, but when I got there, it wasn't even like that. It was a totally different set of values, totally different set of way of being, totally different energy vibes. Here, it's just very, well, you know, just how it is. You know what I mean? It's just very, just, hey, I'm in my zone.
You know what I see here, Jay, in America, and maybe it might be worldwide. This term is this: there are many spiritual orphans here.
Yeah.
I mean, this community, hey, Kaz, I had you on my thoughts this morning in meditation. Good to see you, dear. I want you on. I contend that this community here, the Soul Tribe, that is now well over, you know, it's everywhere, different channels are starting. And I contend that many of us have been spiritually orphaned. And it's the fact that when we begin to connect by the energy, and many times it's just by words.
Yeah.
That this is the bond that we begin to form here. And I think that these could be bonds that could begin to extend even into the next realm. I mean, that's how I see it, because like in India, again, the culture is about family.
It totally is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look at us right now. We're having a conversation, but it's like, for me, I'm looking at you as like, hey, you know, I'm meeting my soul cluster. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
My spirit, my you know, brother in another spirit in a human body, kind of thing like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just that's it. It's like almost like it's the way I'm looking at it is, I don't look at it as like, hey, you know, the linear ways much, but you know, you do at times, because that's how we are, but more along the lines, it's like, what's your experience like in this life? Is really such a fascinating.
That's what I see. I want to know what you're experiencing, because, you know, for me, I mean, I do my radio show on Thursday, and I write the whole show out. And this week I'm discussing, there is a theory out there that says that we've entered into a new dark age, and that for the last 300 years we had the opportunity of a new enlightenment, but we rejected it. And the evidence is what we see, because we can't talk about those things. And that this is the evidence that we have now passed through the veil again, and the darkness is beginning to shut out the light. Now, having said that, I think that the future is not set. I'm a person who believes that if you truly have faith, there's nothing impossible.
Oh
Nothing.
yeah. I'd say the way I say it is just the future is just an extension of the present. You don't
Yes.
write your own story. I totally believe in that. Yeah, I
Yes.
totally believe you can write your own story. That's why it's so important. Getting back to what we were talking about in the beginning, was so important to really just use complete discernment about what you're watching, who you're listening to. And I would say that if it starts to not feel good, or it makes you feel anxious or nervousness, or doesn't make you feel like you're in an uplifting state, then chances are it's probably not right. You know what I mean? It's not right for your soul.
Oh, and
Go with what's good for your soul. Do whatever you got to do to get to the other side of this.
And today, I mean, that's what they're wanting, is to suck your soul dry, because
Yeah.
it is how it is. You know, people, they sometimes write me and say, well, it's so sad your childhood. And I said, no, 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 no. You don't understand. The circumstances may have seemed challenging, but I was having the time of my life. And I'll say this, in the hardest times of my life, I have come to love those the most, because it taught me the most.
Yeah. You learn a lot.
You do. I mean, um, there was a time in my life where you could say it was a crisis. There was a loss of confidence. There was a loss in faith. My whole construct, the core of my beliefs, were shattered. And I remember that point where I had a rope around my neck. And, as I said before, I've been to the great abyss, and I've passed the test because I've looked within. And the test each and every one of us will face is that you have to be prepared to see what you're going to be looking at.
Yeah, you do. You do. It is it is so survival of the fittest, man. It really is. And I mean that in a great way, meaning that I'm say that with as much light and positivity as possible, that there is a beaming light ahead of you. You know what I mean? And here's
it's not a freight train either.
No, it's not a freight. It's not going to run you over. It's actually going to guide you. It can guide you through. It can guide you through your way.
Yeah.
I mean, it can guide you through your way. You learn how to connect. I tell you, man. I think that if more and more people, can start to take on, like, listening to your show, Wayne, and which is incredibly valuable. I mean, if you get,
I don't know about there.
well,
There's some that say that I am the spawn of the devil himself, but
well, yeah, listen, believe me, I get those. I get a lot.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah. Oh my
It's kind of like, now it's just a merit badge.
Man, whatever. If that's what you,
I was a Boy Scout. I made it all the way up to Life Scout.
Yeah.
Didn't make Eagle, but got close.
Yeah, I think I personally believe we have the best times ahead of us if we allow that to happen. I do. I believe this is going to be the best time in our history that we can face if you allow it to happen. I mean, look at it from a different place. Don't react, figure out. I mean, like anything in life, I mean, I think you just have to train your brain for a certain amount of times to condition it, and it just becomes a way of your life. Yeah.
I think many people, to be candid with you, don't know what faith is.
Yeah.
I come out of the Christian religion, and the particular sect that I was in was, we were the born again, spirit filled, name it and claim it group. And one of the things I learned in that experience is that I learned what faith is. I mean, it's not even a question for me. I know it. I can articulate it. Even now, So I ask people all the time, define faith, and they'll give their personal interpretation. But I said, well, how about this? It says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
Yeah. Well said.
Well, I didn't write it. The
It
writer of
sounds good.
Hebrews, yeah, it was Hebrews 11:1. But the point is, I learned to believe in millions of dollars. It's not, what people don't understand is that if your faith is really faith, if it is, it's a knowing. It's not a belief, it's a knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is a knowing. That's therein lies the art of manifestation.
Yeah, it is.
Creating that way. I see these people and I think about just to get a glimpse of it, and I look at it. You see like on certain religious holidays like Easter, you'll see them at the Vatican. There'll be like 10 million people right out there. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, that is just the saddest thing to see. You know what I mean? It's like, how's that working out for you? And they're all praying, trying to get a better life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And by now, it doesn't seem like just the masses haven't been able to get that figured out. So I think it's going to take a lot of this. A lot of what we're doing out here, Wayne, today is just to be able to just share our viewpoints with people.
Yeah, yeah, and there's millions leaving that religion because I don't know. It's interesting. Last night, as I was preparing to go into the ether realm, that's what you do when you sleep. So the great thing I have is this conversation with myself because I know myself. I love myself, and it took decades to get to that point because I marvel at my imperfectness because that imperfectiveness within me has advanced me into places that I'm so grateful that I'm there.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's that continual, the attitude of gratitude.
Yeah, you have to be. I mean, it's you. What I notice, and I find this to be absolutely real, is there's one sense, they talk about, in the spiritual, raising your vibration. When you raise your vibration, you manifest, you know what I mean? Because then you're now raising at whatever level or whatever source you believe in is going to provide for you. The challenge is not so much raising the vibration as much as sustaining the vibration. That's really the art right there that really people want to really think about, because people can raise their vibration. They can go to a service and get it really high and be like, boom, oh, this was great, I feel incredible, and boom, out the door they go and done. You know what I mean? The art is going to be to how do you sustain that? And that's why I always say to people, like even on our show, Wayne, I'm like, listen, start your own show, which is what I personally do. I can only share my formula. Start your own show, keep your vibration there. Talk and meet great friends like Wayne, and then get in those little groups together if you need to. If you're at that point where you need to feel like, hey, I'm freaking out over this stuff, there's nothing to freak out of. There's just because it's already there. So there's no reason to do anything that's already there, other than to try to see what is the blessing, or what is the good news behind all this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, find that good news.
And find that good news. And I think if you look, you'll see that there is good news behind a lot of this stuff. May not be for everybody, but that's their journey. This is your journey.
There are some, and by the way, Divine Empress, I'm just sending you a healing, girl. She says, I was recovering from a mountain bike accident, knocked me unconscious, and I'm taking no pain, no gain to the next level. Darling, high five for you, sweetie. We just send you a healing on there, and I'm speaking down on the cellular level. Just look at those cells and just put where you just lay your hands on that and just speak to those cells and speak life to it, because there is new life being created in that womb. It's true. It's a fact, Jack. I can just tell you. And this is so inspiring because the title of this was Crisis Mentality, and it's a crisis. And the events in my life, when I learned that it's not a question of a right or wrong choice. It's the point that you've made the choice.
Yeah.
And there is in this reality a causality effect. And I find, Jay, for most people, is that they set the causality by their thoughts. I was watching last night, very briefly, I really enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed the book, Dune.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul Atreides, who represents the Christ, the second coming of Christ. Well, when Paul Atreides was going through his initiation, he said, there is a thought that creates a sound. And it got me to thinking, it is the thought that sets all of our futures into motion. How I see this, and this is what I meditate on, I always meditate on key events I want to take place. And I will start building those events in my mind to where I'm living it over and over and over. I can tell you what the concrete looks like. I can tell you what's on the side as I'm walking up to this. I can tell you the scenery. And that is what faith is. It's creating out of the substance those things that we call not that be as though they are.
It's beautiful. It's you know, I want to tell you, the first time I accidentally had an out of body experience was just, you know, number one, it scared the hell out of me. I thought I was just dead. It really did. I was like,
did you feel like falling?
You know, once I realized I was out of my body, the actual journey threw it out. But I remember, Wayne, just getting out and then flying out my window, and just little things. I remember touching the ground. I do this whenever it happens. I do this. I'll go to the ground and touch it, and I'll be like, oh, I can really feel this.
Yeah.
You know, and then you fly, and then you come back. Then you come back, and then you notice that now I'm a little bit. It's still unnerving at times, I'd be honest with you. But when I'm coming back, I realize that I come back with this knowledge of, how did I get that? Number one. So it's like you get the inspiration, but then not only the inspiration, Wayne, you get the playbook to go along with it. So here's your inspiration, and here's what exactly the step-by-step you want to do with that. So it's pretty awesome. And this is a lot of the stuff when we talk about, these are a lot of the benefits that, you know, when people will take the opportunity to start, you know, learning to get to know themselves, reacquaint themselves with themselves, literally, they're going to find, I believe, they're going to learn, hey, this is my next step. I know with predictability, this is what I got to do. And here's the roadmap to do it.
I often tell people, you know, when I counsel them, I said, well, if you met yourself on a crowded boulevard, would you recognize yourself? Because the reality is we love wearing masks.
Yeah.
All of us are in this masquerade. And it's when you remove the mask, the vulnerabilities, the imperfections, never looking at them as vulnerabilities or imperfections. It's just you.
It's just you. It's just you.
Just you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I really, I think we're going to have a breakthrough, Wayne. I really do. I'm an optimist. You know what I mean? I really do. I'm an optimist. So I'm going to go with it. I really believe that, you know, society in general, there'll be strong enough energy to be able to grab, you know, whoever wants to come along and just help them find their own way, you know, help them find the best existence they can in this earth. We don't know where that, you know, what's next or what's there. We just work with what we got, but we can make it great.
I think we can. And I think we can do it with diverse opinions, diverse beliefs. I mean, the thing that, you know, it's amazing about Sapiens, we thrive on division.
Yeah.
You know, you have to choose a team.
Yeah.
You know, all sports are about conflict, about conquest, victory. Yeah. And you're going, okay, all right. And then you look at dating. Dating is like being bare ass naked in a jungle, and you're not at the top of the food chain, you know, and that's how it can be. And then you get into relationships, and you know, and what we never remind ourselves is that none of us are perfect at this.
Yeah.
I don't think we want to be perfect.
No, it would ruin it.
Yeah, I mean, I can say, well, Jay, you know, I don't agree with that. And you can say, well, I agree that we disagree. And we grow from that, because what I'm going to take away is that I'm going to, now he said that. And you know what I have found many times is that I find synergy within it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, Solomon said that there is no human who has an original thought. you think on that one, that means then we're regurgitating someone else's thought.
And I totally believe that because
It's like,
yeah, there's got to be, because when I people ask me all the time, they're like, do you believe in this person that came on your show? Do you believe in that person? I'm like, listen, I said, I personally believe there's a sprinkle of truth of everything being said, or it would not have been said, you know? So it's their truth. I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm not here to, as long as they're not hurting the innocent and not doing their welcome. You know what I mean? Tell us what you got. You know?
I taught in sales. So when I would get a class, and typically our classes were 20 to 50 top sales executives. And just to point out how this can really work out, it's the experiment that when you put people into a circle and then you hand the first person a simple statement. And I always said, the dog ran across the road, was almost hit by a car. And so you now tell that to the person next to you. And I would then go to the end of the line, waiting for the story to come back. By the time it got back to me, it was this, Afghan, blonde Afghan that was running across the street that got off the leash of its owners. And there was a red BMW that was running a red light, and you're going, okay, so what happened here? The element is still there, is it not?
Yeah, that's so true.
It's still a dog that crossed the road that almost got hit by a car.
Right, exactly. That is so true. That's exactly right.
And that's how I kind of look at religion, thus says God. Okay, that's cool. I mean, if that's your God, I mean, then I don't have a problem with that. But, might be that he may not or she may not be the only one on the block.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know.
Possibilities. That's what I say.
That's what I say. I often tell people, if you're looking for a deity, find one that wants to be your friend.
Yes.
Not one that's going to make you worship them or anything else. That just find them for companionship.
And not so hard to access.
Yeah. I mean,
like you shouldn't have to do like a whole, you didn't
well,
have to
if you're going to have to walk on hot coals to get to them, I mean, forget it.
Yeah, that's not exactly. Well, I agree with that. I'm going to align with that. That's a lot. I don't believe that if someone's there to genuinely help you, they shouldn't, you shouldn't have to have the magic stones and all this stuff.
I had someone say that, well, I flog my body, and I will go, why? Yeah. Love your body. Your body will love you back.
Yeah, that's true. Find the person that's appointed to you and say, say, you belong to me. You know what I mean? And that's it. Right.
You see, I love this. This is the energy, Jay. I'll have to have you bring April back on too.
Oh, yeah. And, well, then they won't ever want to see me again. They'll just want to talk to April, you'll guess.
Well, it's like Trina when I do the a second look, I'm just there to, as the
listen, Wayne, we're always honored to be on your show. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're always welcome. Open invitation. And I know you have opportunities on people who are maybe looking for an opportunity, little side cash, never wrong with that. And as a nation now, we're now recognizing the benefits of the Magick plant, the cannabis plant. Yeah. So if you're into needing alternatives to the pharmaceuticals, CBDs have been proven to be an effective alternative pain management. And there's a host of other things that we're finding. Remember that it was the government who got the patents on the cannabis plant and its medicinal qualities.
Yeah.
Ain't that the truth?
They're game changers, Wayne. They really are. And the opportunity is there for people right now because there's a great opportunity to prosper in the world. I mean, I think one thing that stands the test of time is money and health and wellness, right? As far as business. So they're there. Everybody's asking about it. So if people want to learn about it, I'll have the links, I guess, for you, Wayne. I'll send it to you.
The link is down there for you. And I signed up. It's a good thing, folks. And listen, I think that the more we can get away from artificial chemicals that begin to change the chemical structure within our bodies all the way up to the neurons, I'd rather have Mother Nature doing it than having some crackpot in some lab that I don't even know.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff there. Thanks. And thanks, Wayne, for having me on.
Jay, this has been fun, man. I mean,
you're always such a great guy. I can't wait to have you back on our show.
Listen, I reciprocate to the energy that's there. And I mean, you are a beautiful soul. I've told you the same the first time I met you and April both. Just a wonderful couple. And this is a place where, you're welcome. I hope you consider yourself part of the soul tribe, because
I'd love to,
I
yeah.
consider you as part of that. And if there's anything that I can do to help along the way, let me know.
Yeah, much love to you, my brother. Much love.
Much
Thank you
love to
very much.
you.
And much love to your audience. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Nina the Mystic has a show right on after 1 hour after this one. So go over there. She leaves the link in there. Tomorrow, David Barry is on. So we're going to be talking about entities, Jay. And I'm going to revert to the story you said, because they've got film over in India of these beings of people literally just floating right across. I mean,
it's real, man.
there. Yeah.
It is real. It is real.
And I tell you, it almost makes me desirous to be able to go over to India, because there's so much activity over there.
Yeah.
So I'm envious on that. Miss Kaz, write me, hon. I'd like to get you. I'm going to get Jenny back on, and Al is heading to Arizona. So Big Al, be safe. We love you all. See you tomorrow. Remember, you have favor on your life, and favor means you have been empowered to